Hello everyone, this is Nathan, the organizer for this meeting, and thanks for joining this meeting. And we have Ryan, who is going to present about the our integration in Microsoft Service. I just want to let you guys know that for this BI virtual chapter, this is going to be the last meeting for the year. We are not going to have any meeting in December, but we already have a speaker for January. The January topic is going to be Power BI integration with maps. So I will send you guys who are all subscribed to the Business Intelligence Virtual Chapter email in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to make Ryan as the presenter. There will be a few seconds delay, and I hope everyone can see his screen. So Ryan, make presenter. Ryan, can you hear me? You are the presenter now. Ryan. Can you speak? We can see your screen, but I cannot hear you. Ryan, can you speak? Ryan, can you hear me? Yes, can you hear me? Ryan, we cannot hear you.
Oh, hello?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Great. Just getting my stuff in order here, guys. Sorry, it took a little bit. I had to restart my computer. But can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Great. I just need to open up one more thing, which you guys weren't supposed to see, but that's okay. And then we'll be getting into this presentation.
Thanks, Ryan.
No problem. While we're waiting for this, thanks, Nathan, for giving me an opportunity to speak today. And thank you all for attending this session on our integration with Microsoft Solutions. So let me get, well, that starts up. I think I'll just come back to that in a second. So yeah, let's get into the demo. Or I'm sorry, the slides. So yeah, so my name is Ryan Fonette. I work for a company called CCG. You can see below, there's my contact information. It's ccgbi.com is my work email, my LinkedIn profile, and you can also find me on Twitter at Ryan_Fonette. All right. So as I said, I work for a company called CCG. I'm a senior consultant. CCG, or a Convergence Consulting Group, is a company that's based in Tampa, Florida. That's our headquarters. However, we have some remote offices as well. I'm here in Orlando, and then we also are in Miami, Atlanta, and we are spreading across the country. We have clients that range all the way from Dallas, Minneapolis, Chicago, and DC as well. I have more than 11 years of professional experience with various programming languages, technologies, frameworks, methodologies, and tools over various industries. And just a personal note, big Florida State fan, love sports, big family guy, that's my wife and my 2 dogs, and I love to travel. I've been to most of those countries on that map that you guys can see, and plan on going to Indonesia, Malaysia, Australia, as well as New Zealand in about 2 or 3 weeks now. So what are we talking about today? We're going to go over what is R, give you guys a brief history on where it came from, talk about how we can use R, and then kind of showing you the importance of R, how it's been kind of rising through the ranks as of late. Then we're going to do a quick demo in R to show you what it looks like using Visual Studio R tools. Then we're going to show you how R can be used in SQL Server, Azure ML, and in Power BI, and give you some references to take home with you, and then we'll finish up with some Q&A. So without further ado, let's get started. So, history of R. So it came out in 1991, created by two gentlemen named Ross Hayaka and Robert Gentleman, based in Auckland, New Zealand, actually a place I'll be visiting pretty soon. And then in 1993, R went public, became open source. In 95, it became free. In 1996, R Help was established. This is a great document repository that's kind of embedded in R, and I'll show you an example of that. Our core group is formed in 1997. This is the group that kind of ensures, as the new releases go out, that the code is correct, right? So that's pretty much the version control there group. In 2000, our version 1.0 came out. In 2007, a company called Revolution Analytics was established. And for those who don't know why that's important, you'll see later down the timeline why that is. Our version 3.02 came out in 2013. And then in 2015, Microsoft acquired Revolution Analytics. In 2015, R became available in Power BI. And then last but not least, on this timeline, let's see, there we go. R became available in SQL Server 2016 in June. All right, so what is R? Well, it's a statistical language it's a very powerful statistical language that you can do both statistical analysis and create beautiful presentations. So I have an example here of a linear regression model that you can do within R. But you can do others. So this is a supervised learning, right? You can also do unsupervised learning, like classification models. And then as far as other supervised models, I mean, you can do anything from logistics, regression, to sport vector machines, even the complex ones like that, as well as neural networks. So lots you can do just from the statistical analysis part. But then if you look at the right of the screen, you can also create these very nice visualizations, right? So some pretty cool heat maps, word maps, tree maps, and etc. So for those who didn't know, R is becoming more and more popular. So this little survey, or no, I'm sorry, not survey, but results that came from the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineering. And they are pretty much an association that kind of monitors a lot of the STEM-related trends. And this particular result set that they found was based on programming languages. And as you guys can see, R has moved, and this, I'm sorry, before I should preface, this result set just came out in August, so this is pretty new. But you can see the results have R at being number 5. This is pretty huge. Last year was number 6, and I believe the year before it was around the 9 or 10 range. But this is quite significant because now you're looking at how R just passed C#, and all the languages above it and either a couple below it, they're all purpose languages. So R being, statistical heavy, it's quite an accomplishment. So you can kind of see why Microsoft is investing so much in this very important language. All right, so now the demo, and pretty much from here on out, it's going to be tons of demos, and I don't even think I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint until the end for the reference part.
Okay. Ryan, I have a question. Do you have any blog or anywhere where the audience can download the slides?
I do not, but I could work with you and share them maybe on Pass's site or something.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I can definitely send it to you, and we can figure out where to put it.
Okay, yeah, we'll figure it out. Okay.
Okay, great. So let's get into it. So this is R. So like I said, I'm going to be using Visual Studio R tools, which is free from Microsoft. Before you even get this tool, though, you're going to need some kind of flavor of R, whether you get Microsoft R Open, which as you can see, that's what I have. But you can also use CRAN, which is Comprehensive R Archive Network. So depending on what you use, I prefer R Open, which is essentially Microsoft's version. It's like an enhanced R, if you will. And that some of the capabilities that I like of it is R was built to on single-threaded machines, where here R Open actually has libraries that will let you do some multi-threading, so it's a little faster from a processing standpoint. So as you can see, this is just kind of what it looks like. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to navigate to the working directory where all my data sets are. I'm going to be showing you guys on how to pretty much pull in data via CSV files. And then from there, we're going to do some kind of data profiling. And then we'll do some basic plots. So I could do this programmatically and set it, called set WD, but I like to do the easy way and go through the GUI. So I'm just selecting my working directory where all those data sets are. So first off, we're going to look at some statistical data on baseball. So what I'm doing right now is I'm creating what's called a data frame, and I'm going to read the CSV file called baseball.csv, and you can already see the IntelliSense that's built in. It's helping me out. Now I'm just going to read it as is. I'm not going to do any changing of the file, but that's with that. All right, so now I've loaded this baseball data set. So let's take a look at what's actually in here. So if I look at the if I want to look at the contents of it, I can use what's called the struct function, and all you do is strr and then type in the data frame, and boom, there's some profiling right off the bat for you. So we have a little over 1,200 observations, 15 variables, and then we can also look at some of the actual variables and the contents of that. So it gives us the type. So we got team, the team, the baseball team, the league that they're in, AL, NL, American League or National League, and then the year that these statistics are produced. So we kind of have, I think we start, I forgot the name, like 1960 or 70 something, but we'll see that in a second when that is. But it goes up to about 2012. And then for that year, for that team, we can see the runs scored, runs against, the wins, on-base percentage, slugging, batting average, if they made a playoffs or not. So there's a binary, which is an int. And rank, playoffs, the games they played, on-base percentage, and slugging percentage. So a lot of kind of statistics for these teams over the past years. So what I want to do now is I want to look at some of the descriptive statistics of this actual data frame called baseball. And by using the summary function, I can see from a factor standpoint how many baseball teams there are for this particular data set and the number of them, same with American League. And then from some of the numeric stuff, I can look at the min, first cut, quartile, median, mean, max. And then if there's any kind of NAs, it also produced that as well. So it looks like we'll have to do some data cleansing here if we were to do a true data science project. And if I want to do just like I do in SQL, if I want to look at the first, 10 rows, I can use what's called the head function. Now this is giving me the actual first 10 rows in order. And we'll see that here if I do head. So those are the first 10 records within that or in our data frame. Now if I want to look at the last 10, I could do the same thing using the function called tail. And that would give me the last 10 records within this data frame set. Cool. So now what if I wanted to see how many teams, kind of like the summary function produced, but just kind of over in one row. I could do that via it's called a table function. So what I'm going to look at now is how many teams there are by the count for all the teams. I'm sorry. So I can use that, and so there's our result set there. So these are the amount of teams in this result set in the counts. So, all right. And then if I wanted to look at kind of, let's say the amount of runs scored per the team, right? Do some aggregate kind of stuff. I can simply do run scored and see how the IntelliSense is helping me. When I do the $sign, that's how I select the column that I want to look at per team. And then here I want to see the minimum run score per team. So that would give me the minimum, and just as easily I could do the max and see how much. So that's pretty much some quick data munging on that data set, just to kind of see some results and kind of just profiling the data and looking at some trends and whatnot. So now I'm going to look at another data set called GE stock, and this is going to give us the GE stock price over time. Okay. So again, I'm going to use my read CSV function, and I think it's case sensitive, so hopefully this is right. And then this time I'm going to convert all my strings or my factors to strings instead of defaulting them as factors as I did the last time. So I'll set strings as factors equals false. Okay, and again, I might want to look at my data set before I do anything else. See what we get going on in here. And you'll notice right at the top that, well, stock price numeric, that looks about right, but the date is actually a string. Well, I'm going to do something about that. I'm actually going to convert that. So let's create a new column. We're going to call it closing price date. And then we're going to use what's called the date function, just kind of like your cast or convert, right, in SQL. And then we are going to cast.
Ryan.
Yes.
When you have a stopping point,
okay.
Let me know. I have like 8 or 9 questions already.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me. I'll finish up this part, and then I'll plot it out, and then I'll take some questions.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, so I got GE stock date, and then the syntax here is, I believe it's %M, %T, month, day, whoops, and year. Okay, so now if I, again, actually I can just press the up arrow, so. And then, sorry, one thing I want to do, and just because R is pretty memory intensive, I'm just going to get rid of that date. Okay, and to do that, you just assign it to the null. Okay, and this will just get rid of that column. That will drop that column for me. So if I look at GE stock, I now have a nice little date function. So now I'm ready to actually look at some of the data. So I've kind of showed you how to do some data munging, some transforming there, and then actually kind of profile, look at some of the data. But now let's look at an actual plot. So to do this, it's very easy. I mean, there's tons of libraries that are more sophisticated, but I'm just going to show you the one right out of the box, so you don't have to download any kind of libraries like ggplot or some of those more sophisticated ones. But to do, before I even do that, and I'm just kind of curious, like, well, what kind of parameters do I have in ggplot? I can type question mark and plot, and this is what this is going to do, is bring up that nice rich help repository that I was talking about that's embedded right into R. If I scroll down, you can see the usage. It's going to give me some of the other parameters, and then some examples here below. So nice typical, right, is I want to look at the stock price over time, essentially, right? So, oops, $sign and stock price. And there we go. So very simple graph, but very easy. and just kind of already showed us kind of some trends going on here. As you can see, I'm not really fond with these X and Y titles, but I can do something about that. And I kind of want to do something more with the coloring. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pretty this up a little bit. And I'm going to give it a title. So main equals, and then we'll just say GE stock price over time. And then, like I said, this x-axis, I'm going to give that a title as well. So let's do GE stock price. Okay. Oh, whoops, I actually mixed that up. That is going to be on our y-axis, because on our x-axis is where the date is. So I'm just going to say closing date. Okay. And then I'm going to use what's called a type parameter. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. I'll explain that. And then I'm going to put some color into it. I'll make it green today. And then another parameter I can use called PCH dictates the kind of shapes that I want for the points on the graph. All right, so hopefully this works. Awesome. Okay, great. So you can see how a little a prettier graph here, right? So closing date, GE stock price. Whoops. Let me bring this guy up. And actually, I'm just going to pin him here and expand this so that won't happen again. But you can see, and then the PCH or the little squares, the type that I was talking about actually is a connecting of the dots type of deal. So kind of want to see that. It's nice to see the trends and the main title. So lastly, before I one thing too is if I wanted to toggle between the plots within the ID, I can. So I can look at my previous plot. If I would like any one of these plots, I want to save them as images, as PDFs, copy them as bitmaps, or whatever, I can do that. Or if I wanted to kind of clear all the plots from my memory, I can do that as well in this particular screen. So lastly, for this little demo, I'm just going to list out all the things that we've created. So you can see baseball and GE stock, okay? And then to remove this, if I wanted to, I can just remove equals ls list equals ls, I believe. I may not have got that one right. Okay. But that would just remove all the objects. So I'm just kind of starting from fresh and then Control L, and I'm back to where I was. So now, Nathan, yeah, I finished with that R demo, and as I transition to my next one, you can feel free to shoot some questions.
Okay. The first question is, I already told we will work on to get the slides to the audience, and then yes, okay. Yes, this presentation is being recorded. We will upload. Now the question is, one of the audience is asking where he can get the Visual Studio or for Visual Studio.
Yes, great question. I have, at the end of my presentation, I will supply all those references, and if we share the slide deck like it looks like we're going to do, then you'll have all that.
Okay.
So all these tools that I'm showing you, that's a great question, a great point, are going to be free. At least I'm using the freebie version, and I will supply all those links so you guys can get started.
Okay. The next question is, they are asking for your opinion, which is the better IDE? Is it RStudio or Visual Studio for R?
Oh, great question. So I start out with RStudio, right? Because our Visual Studio Art tools, I believe, just came out in, let's see, early spring or maybe late spring, I want to say, because I was part of the actual preview group and I was getting all the latest implements, and I believe it's still in preview. I really like Visual Studio Art tools because I'm just so used to Microsoft Visual Studio in general. So background, I have a lot of BI development background, so I do, SSA, SIS, and all that, reporting services. So I just like the look and feel. I think both of them are pretty comparable. I mean, IntelliSense looks pretty well. The help function and then the map, the plotting stuff is all very similar. But yeah, they're both free. They're both. I like to just use Visual Studio Art, so that's just my preference. So.
Okay. The next question is, can I use all the packages that I run on RStudio on ROpen as well?
Yes. Yes, the answer is yes. Any of those packages that you use, ggplot, Shining, whatever, some of the more complicated ones, RPart for your statistical stuff, mice to do some imputations, yes, all that you can do within Visual Studio R.
Okay. And the next question is, do you know of any libraries that will project sales in the future using a set of data in the past? It's like for forecasting.
Yeah, there is some time series packages. I would have to Google that, but I'm not sure off the top of my head. But yes, there are some built into R.
What type of database does R load the data into? Do we need to set up a DB similar to SQL?
So that's a good question, and I'm about to show you how you can integrate within SQL Server so you don't have to do any kind of ODBC kind of connections through R.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the beauty of this new version 2016 is you don't have to do any of that. But yeah, you can if you use the RODBC connection and just hit it right in SQL and bring the data into your data frame like I showed, just like a CSV file except SQL, and start playing around with the data in memory there.
And then the next question is how you can deliver the graphs like a dashboard, like, so Power BI is an option.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll show some examples how you can use that within SSRS and Power BI.
Okay, and I think the next question is, 2016 development version may not have R. Am I right or wrong? Because when I tried in Azure, it did not install the R. So is it only for enterprise or is it for both developer and enterprise? I'm asking you, Ryan.
Oh, yeah. So this is all development. Sorry, I have no enterprise licensing at all on this point. So yeah,
Okay.
everything you see is SQL Server Development Edition, the RStudio tools, Power BI. Well, that's just the desktop version. But everything, yeah, you see is free and Development Edition.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Well, like I said, I'm not going to jump back to the slides. It's essentially just saying there's going to be more demos. So this is very demo intensive. Hopefully you guys are going to enjoy that part. So now what I'm going to show is how R can be utilized in Microsoft SQL Server. So I'm sure all you guys are pretty familiar with this, right, this setup screen. And if I want to create a new instance, all right, as you can see, I got the developer edition, accept the license terms. And then we should have our nice little feature list box of things we want to implement for this instance, right? It should come up here pretty soon, hopefully. Oh, let's see, taking its time. But yeah, what will come up here on the screen here shortly is all those features, right? If we want SSIS, AS, all right, here we go. I can stop talking about it and actually showing you guys. But you'll notice here in 2016, there's a new feature here called R Services and Database. Okay? So if you check that box, and I'm not going to do this because I've already done this. You'll see I'm going to uncheck it real quick, but see how right through here, consent to install. So as you check this and go through walk through the wizard, if you don't have a version of R, it will ask if you can install R Open. If you already had CRAN or something, you can use that as well. But you need some flavor of R, so this will work here for this setup. So once you go through the setup, and which I'm not going to do, I'm just going to cancel out of here, but that's the first step. It will be a service that runs in the background. And that is how you're going to interact SQL Server with R with SQL Server. So once you've got that set up, like we just did there, you'll come up and you need to actually do some configuring here. So we need to say, hey, SQL, it's okay for us to talk to some external scripts. So you would run this script here. That's going to explicitly enable it. You need to restart SQL Server service for that particular instance that you installed it on. And then this, I'll run this to show you guys real quick. This makes sure that this configuration happened and everything looks good. So the run value should be 1, which it is. So now we should be in good shape to start running some R kind of scripts. So first one, very simple. This is just kind of just a test to make sure everything's working properly. Is we're just going to say like select 1 as hello, right? It's going to be an integer. So this is our input, from SQL Server, which is going to be here, and then into our data frame, which is going to be executed by R. So just looking at the parameters here, language is R. I think you guys can see where Microsoft is going in that. P for Python, J for JSON, who knows, right? And then this is a script here that's going to be executed within R services. And then this is the SQL query itself. Okay? So if I run this, I should get the number 1. And I just restarted my computer, so this may be a little slow the first time around. But there you go. So that's what I expect. Very simple example. Now, let's get into something a little more complicated, not too much complicated, but I want to figure out the median year birth date for our customers in this DIM customer AdventureWorks database. Now, median, if you recall, there's no function in SQL Server at this time to do that, right? You have to do some complex, crazy, I don't know, function or however you want to do it to get that, right? But in R, there's actually what's called a median function. So what I'm going to do here is then, again, pass in, this is my SQL query, and then I've actually, for input data 1, SQL in is going to be my input, and then my output. So I explicitly actually are calling out these variables where I didn't do that in this simple example, right? So with that, data frame, again, this is going to be SQL in, right? So we're assigning, and then we know what this is, right? So this is a data frame. This is our column name BD, which came from our query. And we're going to add to our data frame BD, and then pretty much cast it into a data frame, and then output it onto our screen here. So if we run this, we should get the median years for birthdays. Cool. Yeah, same thing. I guess what I was going to do here is you can actually change this to mean, right? And you can just kind of see what this would look like doing something similar in SQL Server, right? So if we do this, and we get the same result. So again, pretty basic stuff so far. But what if I want to get into something a little more complex, something maybe a little more useful, right? Well, medium may be useful, but, and I'm going to make sure you guys can see the screen so you can see this whole part here. So this is more complex, right? So what I want to do is I want to, in this example, is I'm going to create sales amounts on aggregate, right, over time, essentially, right? So within here, we have our SQL query, and again, we're going to put that into our input data set, which will be fed into our output data set, which will be executed by R. So kind of like you start backwards and you come back up here, so you want to look at it. And again, we have our script, and our input data set is going to be our SQL query. It's going to be read into this DF, or our data frame. And then what we're going to do is we want to create a plot, right, kind of like we did in our previous example. And we want to show this over time, but we want to create this image. So what we're going to do is create a JPEG, and then store this binary output for this plot file, right, date over time, and pretty much put this into an output data set that was then going to be inserted into our demo RDB plots, which is another binary table, or a column within the table. Okay, so if I execute this, and first, before I do that, so you guys don't feel like I'm pulling your leg, I'm going to truncate the table so that way there's nothing in there, okay? Now let's run this script here. And while that's pretty quick. I don't know if you guys see the output, but one row is affected, right? It got inserted into that table. And then what I'm going to do real quick is just look at the contents of this table to see what got put into it. And let's see. Cool. So we got a very useless var binary output. However, what I can do, and I'm going to have to see if I can find this real quick. I need to find my demo. Let's get rid of this guy. Let's get rid of this. But what I can do within SSRS is actually expose this into something useful. So let's see. All right, there we go. So I just opened. So there's a lot of more complicated. Oh, that's no good. Okay. Well, let's see if it restarts. So maybe we'll try it again. But you can kind of see I can generate some kind of plot stuff, and I'll show you here in a second how this is important. But think about even some of the statistical models. We can store those into tables as well. So there's a lot of cool things. It's just doing simple tasks like the median function that we can do just within R, just interacting with R within SQL Server. So as we wait, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to this demo and show you what that would look like. And I want to go on to Azure ML. Well, let's see. Let's give it a second. If it comes back up quickly, I'm going to close this out. One thing about this demo is I got so much stuff open that sometimes it can act a little quirky. Okay, so let's thinking about. So let me move on to. Let me open this up. Oh, let's see. Yeah, let me move on to Azure ML. Okay, so I'm not sure who's familiar here with Azure ML, but it's part of the Cortana suite, and it's a way to create these experiments that you can then deploy as web services. So what I mean is you can then funnel data into, which is a very easy GUI drops driven basis, right? And I'll show you that in a second. But then the deliverable is a web service, so you can kind of put your data real time or in a day into this experiment model where it's got statistical models built in, so you can do some pretty cool predictions, real high level. One thing I do want to point out, this is the studioazureml.net. So this is the freebie version. You can get your own workspace. All you need is a Microsoft account. You don't need a Azure subscription. You don't need a credit card. It's really easy to sign up, and that's what I'm about to show you now. Okay, so this is what Azure ML looks like. And like I said, I'm not going to go, I don't have too much time to delve into the tool set because this is all about how R is being utilized in each one of these tools and why it's important to start learning R, because Microsoft keeps baking this very important language into its tool set. But what I'm going to show you is how we can create a new experiment very easily. Again, if you guys are familiar with SSIS, this should look kind of familiar to you guys. And what we are going to look at is a sample data set, and it's called a census income. And what we can do is visualize the data set. And it's a CSV file that comes as part of the sample data files that you can get right out of the box that Microsoft provides for you to start playing with this. And what we are going to be looking at some of these variables and how we can predict the income, whether someone's going to make less than or equal to 50,000. So that's kind of the whole premise. So again, we have, it tells you kind of that summary statistics kind of stuff, the amount of rows, columns, and if I wanted to look at a specific column and look at some descriptive stuff over here as far as min-max, give you a nice histogram. It's a very nice tool to work with. And that is how you visualize the data. So now what we're going to do is we're going to select the columns that we're interested in performing our analysis, our statistical analysis. So I'm going to select what's called Select Columns in Data Set, and I'm going to open up the Launch Column Selector. And here I'm going to select only the columns that I'm interested in. Now there's a whole process in the data science world that you need to follow where you're going to actually have to go through and do some correlation, see which variables make fit. But here I know which ones are I'm going to need, so I'm going to select those ones. So we're looking at variables that we want to look at to help predict our income. So, and I think that's it. Education, working, marital status. Yeah, that looks right. So I select all these columns and then click OK. And now my data set's been narrowed, right? It's only going to be working with those columns from here on out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, again, this is all about R, is how we can run, look at a decision tree all within an R task within Azure ML. So one of the cool things about Azure ML, just kind of like SSIS has their own script components and tasks where you can do C# kind of stuff, you can do R and Python. You can conduct type scripts within this platform. So it's kind of cool. So again, I'm going to search here for my R script task, which I may, let's see, might be just easier just to find it this way. There you go. Create R model. That's what it is. Okay. So if I drag in, oops. Oh, I'm sorry. I want to do execute R model. That's not the one I want. And get rid of that. Execute R script. That's what we want to do. We want to execute this R script. All right. And then once I do that, you'll see, I'm going to try to make this bigger for you guys to look at. Right out of the gate, this is your data set 1 and 2, so you got multiple, it kind of split the data frames from that select column base. But I'm not actually going to type this in. I'm going to copy and paste what I have in here with the script that I have, and I'll go over it real quickly. There we go. So like I said, we're going to look at a decision tree and look at some of the variables that it takes to predict our income. So again, age, sex, education, occupation, and then we're going to view our decision tree results. So we're going to do a couple things here, all within an R task within Azure ML. Now, in order to run this experiment, it's pretty easy. Just click the little run button at the bottom. As that runs, let me see if I can go back to this one. Okay, let me come back. So yeah, okay, we're done. So if I want to look at the result set, I can. We kind of looked at that. But if I want to look at what came out of the actual R script itself, I can see I have a lot of statistical stuff here, right? So it's going to show you like why it came up with the decision tree that it did, right? So these variables, so education was very important. Next, age, sex, and occupation. So it ranked it, and you'll see so a lot of stuff there, but really what I want to show you guys is kind of the decision tree output. So education, if you're 10th grade, 11th grade, associate's degree, 9th grade, et cetera, and the answer is, if you have that degree and the answer is yes, right, then you're probably, if that's the only degree you have, then you're making less than or equal to 50,000. So yes is over here, no is this way. If no, like bachelor's, master's, those type of degrees, move on to the next tree, and age is less than 30. The answer is no. Keep on moving down. If yes, less than or equal to 50, your chances are, again, probabilities, right? Your chances are less than or equal to 15 or 30, I'm sorry. And then if, going down to female, if you're a female, and if the answer is yes, then less than or equal to no. And then if your occupation is these types of occupations, whatever those are, the answer is yes, no. So that's kind of nice little visual that you can produce right in the R scripting language within Azure ML. So I think I have a couple 2 seconds to kind of go back into this. I'm going to switch back to our binary output that we had in that table and see if I can make this thing work. It's pretty quick if it does. All right, cool. Let's see if this will come up again. And then what this is an SSRS report, and I created a data set to fetch that particular column out. And what I'll show you here in a second is it's going to render it within an image and output that var binary into a plot. The actual plot that I would create that you would see if you'd run that same kind of script in R. So here's basic report. And if I left click on here and look at the image properties, I'll show you real quick what I did. So select image source and then use this field as an expression. So if you look at the expression, you can see that I'm just, taking the first value. There's only one value in there for my data set, which is that var binary column. And then if I render this report, I should see that nice plot that I created within SQL Server using our services. And I was thinking about it, crossing my fingers. And let me toggle. Oh, let's see, maybe it's still. All right, well, I will have to play with this, but it should have showed this nice green plot report that for some reason isn't working today. It's worked out my other three. Okay, well, I'm going to go on to Power BI because I know I have 14 minutes left. I'm sure there's lots of questions as I've kind of gone through these demos quite quickly, and then I have some references to wrap up. And let's see, looks like that's frozen. Okay, so on to Power BI. So if those who didn't know, you can use R within Power BI. You can use it as a visualization, so you can script out the visualizations, kind of like the plot stuff that we see and we're about to see. You can also use R to kind of do your data munging. And also, you can then use it as a source as well. So you can use R in every aspect within Power BI, so the ETL portion to the visualization to the source itself. I'm going to be showing the visualization part. And if you wanted to look at the data itself, let's see, where am I? Modeling. Okay, edit there. Whoops, that's not what I want to edit it. I want to look at what am I doing? Edit queries. There we go. There we go. Oh, sorry about that. My mouse is being a little. Anyways, you can kind of see I did a lot of data munging to get it to this point. I just want to point that out. And it was essentially, this is a file from some school data that I got on the age groups and the years and the enrollment. So enrollment over time, essentially. So I'm not going to do anything more to that data set, but I just want to show you that I kind of did some heavy lifting to get it to this. So now that we have all the columns that we're looking at, I now want to do some things that are out of the box, right? So we have these nice, rich visualizations, and there's custom ones that you can download that I'm going to share with you too, not only from Power BI but from the R library as well. But what I'm going to do now is show you how we can create some nice, easy custom ones using the R visualization. All right, so what we do first, like I just showed, is click on the R, and now we're going to use the script editor below. And we want to choose all the columns that we want that's going to be stuck into our data frame, right? This looks familiar to us now, hopefully, this data frame. So it's going to convert all that into this data set, which is our data frame that we'll be working with. And I, again, have some code that I've kind of scripted out here, which is right here. And the first thing I want to do is I want to create a nice, simple time series plot with a linear regression line right down the middle. Okay? So if I do plot, and then okay, I don't want to do that yet, and then I press the little play button. And there is my little nice plot, right? I'm not going to do too much to make it pretty at this point. I'll just make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see. Let's see, let's hide that so it doesn't do that. And there, so we can kind of see the number of students over time, right? And then a linear regression model just kind of shows us our trend, right? So that's pretty cool. All right, what if I want to do a histogram? Again, we can see one line of our code. This is very simple. And I'm going to create a new one. So click on the little R, drag this down here, and I'll put this back up so you can see it. Again, let's choose all the columns that we're going to want to use. I'm just going to choose them all. And here we have, you'll have in a second, a nice little histogram. Again, showing you the kind of the student enrollment in the groupings, right? So cool. So that's nice too. So let's one more visualization. Now, what if I want to do a box plot? This can be pretty useful. So let's look at this one as well. So again, I'm going to bring over my R, little visualization. Let's look at this. And we got to choose all my columns again, right? You got to do that. So we can create our data frame for Power BI to render. Doing a little data munching here to create some levels, but then I'm creating this box plot based on the enrollment and this grouping level that I've created, essentially. So we're going to group by the different levels and look at the enrollment. Now, what I want to show is, what if, this always happens, right? I get a little typo, I missed that little print, and I run this, and we get some kind of error, right? So let's look at that. Can't display the visual, see details. Oh gosh, what's wrong? Well, cool thing is now, and this feature just came out in, I believe, September. So if you guys aren't familiar with Power BI, they have monthly new new versions every month. So, and they're always adding different capabilities. But the one that came out in September is the ability to go to your IDE of your choice. And you'll see that I've actually chosen RStudio for this one. So this will take me into RStudio, so then I can kind of debug my code. And second. Take one more second. Okay, and RStudio, yep. Do you want to close this file? No. Okay. And you can kind of see what that looks like. So it actually creates a CSV file of this input data set, so I can start working with it right within RStudio and start debugging it. So it's kind of cool. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go fix that error so we can look at this visualization, the box plots. And let's run it this time. It should work. And voila, we have a nice little box plot visualization. Cool. So what if, this is all great, but this is all static data. What if I want to do some kind of, slicing and dicing, right? Well, cool thing about Power BI and rendering these R visualizations is I can easily do that. So if I want to do, let's see, we're going to do enrolled. I'm sorry, not enrolled, age group. That's what we want, age group. Okay, and then let's make this slicer. Let's see. Totals, no. Let's see, property. Wait, are we on? Yes. Okay. Sorry about that. I want to go general. And, I don't have, there we go. I was like, this doesn't look right. All right, here we go. Slicer. All right, now we're using the right control here. So slicer control, I want selection on, and I want this to be horizontal. All right, cool. There we go. So that looks a little more what I was hoping it would. So now as you can see, we can do select all, 6 to 8, but now I can start filtering. You can see they're rendering now based on the different types of enrollment groups. So I have a fully interactive report at this time. And just to kind of show you what a nice version of this report would look like, and I even added a donut chart as well. So now all components, Power BI one, as well as the R visualizations are all interacting with my slicer. Cool. Let's see, did this thing, there it is. Of course, at the end of the session, this decides to show, but this is, again, that bar binary file within SSRS embedded in an image. So that was the end of that. Great, so I have 5 minutes left. had a couple of technical difficulties, but I think we got through it. And here, just to finish up, I have those references. Again, oops, let's go do this real quick because it's short. Here for you guys to take home, I'll make sure I give this slide deck to Nathan because I think this may be the most important slide right here. So it goes kind of through the setup of the R services. So we kind of walked through that already, but then you can see the scripts to configure R on a SQL Server as well, and then the test scripts. Azure ML Studio, we talked about that. That was the freebie version, so AzureML.net. Power BI, this is the desktop, right, the freebie version. R applications, so Microsoft's enhanced version of R. Or if you want to use CRAN, that's fine as well. R tools for Visual Studio. Again, that's the one that I use in this demo. R Studio, the R Script Showcase, and Power BI. I'm actually, if I have time, I'll show you this real quick. So I showed you how you can create those custom R components with some code, but if you don't want to write any code and you want to get some nice, rich visualizations, there is a nice library out here that's all open source for people who are creating new ones every day. Or maybe not every day, but a lot, because I've seen some new ones that I haven't seen before. But all you have to do is download this and then upload it to Power BI, and off you're going. You don't even have to write the R scripts that I was doing. So that's kind of a cool feature. Then Power BI, and then for those of you who are wanting to get into data science curriculum, there is edX and Microsoft have joined together to create a data science path, I think it's a certification they call it. And I've taken some of these classes. Some of them are pretty good. Some of them are so-so. But it's a good way if you've never seen any of the stuff that I showed. Power BI, Azure ML, R, Python, and so there's some good stuff out here, even SQL, to get started. I'd recommend definitely just kind of going through that. I mean, it's your own pace, and if you do want to get a certificate for each one, the course price is pretty cheap. And I think lastly, just kind of, again, advertising path. I'm sure you guys heard about because you're attending this one, but there are other different groups: big data, cloud, data science. That one actually is pretty active and good. I joined that one. But that's it. So I guess I know I don't have a lot of time, but if there's any questions, I can try to rapid fire and answer as many as I can. If I can't figure out in a second or two, I'll have to table that one for later on.
Hey Ryan, the question is, do they have a plugin for SQL Server 2012 or like a R plugin?
Yeah. I do not. Yeah, no, I have not heard of any at this point. I think you have to have 2016.
Okay. And then the next question is, could you explain when and why you might use standalone R versus R in the database?
Standalone R versus R in the database. Yeah, so good question. There's actually a couple reasons. So one, security, right? So as I'm over here on my machine and I have R and then I have to pull in the data, it's going across, whatever, cloud, or wherever my data is stored, so there's a security issue there. The other reason is performance. Again, because I have to, get the data, cache it somewhere on my client side and work with it that way. It's very, tends to take a lot of performance. Those are the two big ones. I know there's more. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, but those are two big reasons why you'd want to have R services on your SQL Server box.
Okay, and somebody mentioned that he heard something about SQL integration of R actually buffers the R scripts to disk when it runs, and it creates out of memory in the machine.
Yeah, I do not. I'm not sure because I don't have experience with. I guess he's talking about some really, really large data sets and doing some data munging. I guess R is very memory intensive. I do know you can. If you need to scale out into some big data kind of solutions, you can install our server separately and decouple it. So you may want to look at that option if you're really tackling some big data, kind of sets, I guess.
Okay. Could you use R in SQL to geographic mapping and produce a map image like a heat map?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So I'll go back to this slide right here. But this is one option where you can, right, there's one right there. And then also, glad you asked if I still have it open, which I do. In the showcase, I think they do have a heat map option. Yeah, they do. So you can see there's a couple of nice little mapping heat map options here. Well, these are maps, but this is a heat map right here.
The next question is, if we already have R service, not the one comes with the SQL Server, is it possible to integrate that R with SQL Server 2016?
If you already have R service, I'm trying to think. So when I installed R services, that came with SQL Server. So if you had a separate, I guess, R box or whatever, you could decouple it. Just kind of like I talked about. Like I guess it kind of goes back to what the gentleman was asking. What is what is the reasoning behind doing R services on SQL Server? But I guess it's just that, right? It's having that R service for security and for performance reasons on your SQL Server box.
Somebody from the audience is saying no. I don't know. So,
Yeah, you definitely can't. Yeah, it's a separate install. Yeah.
is it possible to export the plots created in R for Power BI or other type of reports?
Oh yeah. So those procs that I was showing you, you could call that within SSIS. You could call it within anything that executes SQL, right? It's just a T-SQL statement, and it runs on SQL Server. So you can do all kinds of things, which is actually a very interesting point because, I don't know, if you guys are familiar with Alteryx, that's what their ETL tool where they're using R. Well, now you kind of have that capability, right? You can execute a SQL task and do kind of profiling or whatever you want within R on, within SSIS.
Okay, and are there times when you use Python over R?
So since I'm much, I guess, inundated in the Microsoft space myself, I tend to use R just because of, like I showed you guys, it's very integrated in all the tools that, because they've made that huge investment in buying Revolution Analytics. However, you did see how Python is coming along with Integer ML, and I can only see that pattern continue as they want to be more agnostic, I believe. So, I mean, Python's a great language. I've used it just kind of just playing around with, but I guess at this point, with just how R is baked into so many of the tools like Power BI that I use and SQL Server, that I'm just kind of a little more pro R at this point.
Okay, and Ryan, thanks for the presentation. It was really like, a lot of people liked your presentation and a lot of, really nice, good comments. And, like this should give everyone like, how to start with the R. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, like it's being recorded and it will be uploaded in our YouTube channel within like a day or two, or mostly next week. So thanks, Ryan, again.
Okay, and like I said, I'll send this to Nathan, and we'll figure out where we can post the slide deck for you guys to get to.
Yes, once he send a link, I will maybe put it in my OneDrive or something and then share with the email. Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys.
Bye.